Instead of a PowerPoint, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I've conceived of these different aspects of our course in terms of sort of four quadrants, right? We're going to have a group project that's either a study or a creative music therapy experience and intervention, or you're going to have a lit review related with the study, or a paper that is exploring a research question to prove, argue, compare, explore, discover, grow knowledge in a different way. Okay, so these are the four quadrants in this course regarding the two main assignments, and I wanted to just go through these and how I'm conceiving of them so that you're completely as aware as possibly could be of what is expected, what is needed, and what you should be producing and how to think about them, okay? So that's what this video is about. I'll try to make it short and sweet, but to the extent that there are still questions, feel free to contact me by email. But first, I would ask that you read through the assignments as posted, and also watch this video and listen to all the recordings, and then you'll have a lot more clarity about what to do. So with the study, you'll see that there's 3 hours going up, 3 hours going down. What does that mean? That means that this lit review, if you choose to do that on the same topic, right? So this is the person who is interested in music as an analgesic, as a pain reliever, and their study is also looking at music as a pain reliever, okay? So it would be required upon you and incumbent upon you, and also I think you'll find it very interesting, to read other studies. You'll look at other study questions, study designs, and this will influence your group project, because via your growing knowledge in the area of research, right? So as you study and read other studies, you look at other study designs, it will influence your group project via your growing knowledge in this area of research. You'll say, hey guys, even though all you other three people are doing a different research question, I happen to be doing a lit review on our project area, and here's how I think we should redesign our question. Here's how I think we should design our study. So if there's one person in every group who does this, it would be great. You know what I mean? And then you have at least one or maybe two people in each group doing a lit review of the literature in the area. And that's not necessary, but it could help your group, right? That would be wonderful. Then for the CMT, there's more requirements on the next pages, but I'll just go down here again. The other paper is more dynamic. You're going to not necessarily just be doing a review. Excuse me, there's apparently a COVID hair there. You're going to be doing, what is it called? There's different kinds of papers. You're proving something, you're arguing something, you're comparing something, you're exploring, you're discovering. Ultimately, you're growing knowledge in a particular area. So what's cool about this aspect of the course is that on the one hand, you're able to do a study with a group on one aspect of music as an intervention, music and health research, music and health and wellness, right? On the other hand, you're looking at a second area. So this allows you to sort of chew on, to get familiar with two different aspects of music and health. So that's really great. And again, for those who are interested in depth, this gives you the depth option, right? I know I'm interested in music for Alzheimer's patients. That's all I want to do. That's why I took this course, that kind of approach. And so I'm going to look at not just 4 or 5 studies, I'm going to look at 10 studies. I want to, I want my essay to be a very, very thorough review of the research on music and Alzheimer's. That's what I want to do. And frankly, that's going to help my group project go really, really well. So there's all those options laid out. Now let's get a little more specific about requirements. All right. So here you have the group projects. Again, study and the CMT. Let's look at that. We're going to leave the essay alone for a minute here. So the study, ideally I think 4 persons. It's okay to have 3 members. That's fine. There's no reason why this is larger and that's smaller. That's just a force of the pen. Maximum 5 members. But the main point is, if you have great chemistry with 3 members or fantastic chemistry with, 5 members, that's fine. I mean, I have no problem with it. I think 2, it's a little overwhelming to do a study with only 2 people. So I would like you to have, minimum 3, maximum 5, so long as there's proof somehow that you have equal contributions. And maybe that proof is in your knowledge of how much you contributed, of course, um, in this course, and then also during your Zoom, you'll be able to show uh, your contribution when it's your turn to speak on the Zoom. Okay? And then you'll want to have an initial conversation, initial sort of Zoom meeting with members of your group to talk together and discover your different skill sets. You know, what are you good at? Are you good with data? Are you good with people? Are you good with both? Are you good at writing? You know, and you could really just sort of let go of your shyness and be a little more honest about how good you are at all these different aspects. You can have a division of labor whereby, okay, Julie is going to do. I don't know why I keep thinking Julie. Julie's going to do the data. She's great at data, wonderful. And Samuel is going to do the tasks. Uh, sorry, he's going to do. Excuse me. Julie's going to do. Julie's going to do the data, and Samuel's going to do the write up. He's a great writer. He is published in the school newspaper. Fine. But the thing is, I really think you need to have some dynamic going on here, like both, okay? So if Samuel is tasked with writing the whole thing up, but he's super busy doing his essay and other things, you should help him, okay? If Julie's terrific at data, somebody should also be checking over her data, you know, helping her do the calculations. There might not be much in the way of calculations, but, you know, share the resources. For example, if you're using the Facet SP, the 12-question instrument to do pre and post testing of on the Likert scale, there's some addition, some math there. So if you leave it all to Julie, that's not quite right. Julie should share with Samuel and Kathy, another group member, okay? And so all of you can share in those tasks. Okay, and how is it being graded? I mean, coming up with a research question is not easy. It means you have to do a lot of background research. This coming week, up until June 2nd, when you hand in this group outline, which is going to be 5% of your grade out of the 20. So this 70% is going to be what? It's going to be your research question, graded according to your research question, and the 30% is going to be according to your study design. All right? The study design I can help you with. Study design is not easy. There's about 10 standard designs used for a study. As you go through these research studies, if you've never looked at research studies before, you'll start to become familiar with these types of study design, and it'll become obvious why it's 30% and the research question is 70%, because if you have a good research question, the study design is built into the research question. Yeah? All right. So those of you who are doing the CMT, wonderful. Creative music therapists, this is for those people who have previously expressed an interest in possibly doing music therapy or music as a clinical intervention. Those of you who initially in the survey in the Getting to Know Us survey, wrote down how music therapy works, how interventions in music therapy can be effective, you know, on a psychological level, on a healing level. You wrote these kinds of questions. So this is a way for you to discover that. So here, 2 persons is typically the framework that's used. And I would like you to write on 3 studies. I don't know what this is. This is sort of like a star. There you go. So you're going to write about 3 different studies that use creative music therapies as an intervention. And how much will you write? That'll come in this next one. So you're going to show your knowledge of this kind of intervention, this clinical intervention. That's what this is for, okay? And knowledge is going to be based on having looked at different studies and also experience. It's going to be phenomenological. So again, here we are with the CMT. You create a non-musical thing that embodies a struggle in your life that you want to get over. It could be your stress having to do with COVID. It could be anything in your life that you want to embody, but you're not going to use music. Then from there, you present that during a Zoom to the other to the person modeling music therapist, okay? You're both ready with your things, and you get together and you meet on a Zoom, and you're going to record this Zoom, and you come here to this moment where you're going to show, you, the client, show the person modeling therapist the non-musical thing, and then they play music that sounds like what that looks like. Okay, does that make sense? Musicians will probably understand what I'm saying here. You know, you see something and then you musical, just like there's film music, you know, to a particular scene. It evokes a certain emotion in you. Everything has an emotional content. You can talk about it together. You know, what it is that I created, here's what it's all about. But it could be that you say nothing, that you're not, it's a non-verbal communication. And you, modeling client, right, in the music therapy situation, you, modeling client, simply show this, whatever it might be, to the person modeling therapist. And they, based on their musical experience and their compassion, they're going to do something musical to express what that feels like, what that looks like. Then you switch roles. Now, how is this going to be graded? 50% journaling. How are you supposed to journal? The same way we've been journaling up to now in the course. It's a genuine engagement. But here, there's two aspects. One is, what is it like to receive? Be on the receiving end, be in the role of client and have somebody musicking about your suffering. And what is it like to model therapist? What is it like to help somebody experience something different about their suffering? What is it like to musically take them on a journey, you know, if it's 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, journey musically, and help them to smooth out that emotional state? What does that feel like to make yourself vulnerable and experience it? Again, you don't have to tell them what you're going through. This is your safe space. It can be a non-verbal interaction, okay? If it is verbal, then you can also have a conversation afterward about what was that like? You know, you can talk together and then you can journal about that conversation. That's all fair game, okay? That's 50%. How am I evaluating it? What am I looking for? Genuine engagement. This is a compliance, just like all your journal entries. This is 100% just for compliance, just for doing it. And for, you know, writing in a way that I can tell you actually did it, that's fine. You can see down here the requirement is genuine engagement in the modeling exercise. And you can journal with reflexive awareness, meaning you talk about your own awareness through this process. And also you can focus on affect, which is emotion, and your knowledge of what your experience was relative to other CMT studies, right? So this other 50%, speaking of which, is to write 2 pages single space or 4 pages double spaced, 12-point font, Times New Roman, on 3 creative music therapy studies that you look up, all right? You're going to look them up, you're going to read about those studies, you're going to understand how other creative music therapy interventions are done, and I'm going to add a little bit to the handout I've already given, so you'll be informed in that respect. Okay, Nordoff Robbins, who invented this, and others subsequently who did some what should I say, innovations in terms of CMT assignments. Your goal here, why do the CMT? The goal is to develop an appreciation for this type of intervention, the fact that this works, the fact that people are employed as music therapists, the fact that it does help people. You're also going to develop that appreciation through experience, not just theory, not just reading about how other people did it, but actually experiencing it, right? By having that experience. And then you're going to gain this knowledge of what a clinical intervention using music is like, okay? A clinical intervention using music performance, rather, to be specific. So that's what the CMT is all about, and that's what the group project is about. And so now I think you have a clear picture of what is involved. And of course, I'm open to more questions you might have, but I think that helps you to get closer to understanding what is required. You should also listen to the 2 audio files that cover what is meant by finer, F-I-N-E-R, because that's going to be helpful also. For example, here, maybe this is helpful. So you have the finer criteria for a good research question, right? And what this has to do with is the adequate number of subjects, adequate technical expertise, affordable in time and money, and manageable in scope. We've covered this in the audio file about finer. Adequate number of subjects, it's adequate for this course, okay? However many you can find to buy into it. But I would say 10 or more would be great. Then at least you'll have more to say when you do the write-up, as opposed to, well, it's not significant enough, blah, blah, blah. Try to get 10 people. 15 would be the acceptable minimum if the course was longer. And 30, of course, is the sort of gold standard by which we get numbers of significance. If you can get 30 people to do your study, you might be able to publish this. And it might be your first publication. And that would be fantastic. So that's an option for you. Then adequate technical expertise. If all people need to do is to go onto YouTube and watch something that they prefer, great. If all people need to do is click on the audio file that you give them, fantastic. It's feasible because the adequate technical expertise you have and they need is, let's say, totally adequate and reasonable. Affordable in time and money. Yeah. If the population you choose will have to have a laptop or a phone, and they would have had to afford that. So there's the time and money. And you're in the middle of a course, and of course the course costs money, and blah, blah, blah. So there it is. Then you have manageable in scope. Yeah. This is doable online because it's COVID, and so it's a manageable study given that strange and terrible circumstance that we're all in. Is it interesting? Getting the answer intrigues the investigator and her or his friends. And here we have 80 friends plus all of those who we're in contact with and telling about this course. Hey, this course is cool. We're doing something with music and health. So it should be interesting. What you're looking at should be of interest. It should be novel. A good research question, right? This is all about criteria for a good research question, but it can also be applied to a good research design. It can also be applied to a good research study. Novel. Does it confirm, refute, or extend previous findings? As I mentioned earlier, a study that goes over what has been done before and confirms it, refutes it, or extends previous findings, that's what science is all about. It's additive, right? It's additive. ADDITIVE. Science is always adding upon new knowledge that is built upon what comes before. You're providing new findings, a new way of looking at it, a new way of doing it. Wonderful. Ethical. It's amenable to a study that institutional board will approve. In this case, yes, a board would approve of you not dealing with patients who are at risk. This is a beta, this is a MVP, minimum viable product. You are not going to maybe be working with the ideal population that you want to serve, but that's fine. Going through all the steps of how to design and run a study will help you in the future to do those projects, those group projects, those research projects that you want to do. So this is fine. Finer. Haha. Then relevant. Of course, relevant to scientific knowledge, which means we're coming up with a step-by-step way of looking at something that eliminates sources of error as much as possible and gains knowledge, because by doing the same, by having 10 people, 20 people, 30 people do the same thing, you're getting a sample of how well this musical intervention works. Is it relevant to clinical and health policy? Well, if you're looking at music as a pain reliever, yeah. How much music is needed? Is 50 seconds needed? Is softer music needed? What works? Yes, it's relevant. If less medication is needed and music can be used, yes, it's relevant. Potentially, like allegedly, potentially. And to future research, absolutely. I mean, what you find here will affect all your future research projects, because you're learning how to develop a research question, how to design, and doing it according to the finer criteria. Yes? So I think this is a very useful endeavor, and I hope that you also find it as useful and as interesting as I think you will. I mean, that's my goal, is for me not to be the only one in the room who thinks that by doing this, you're gaining knowledge and understanding, not just about music, but about all studies and the extent to which you can develop them. Because if we can create something, if we can create new knowledge by going through a process for only 1 month, that's 1 month, right? A lot of people will do nothing in the next month. They'll be watching Netflix. Yeah, you can watch Netflix also, you know, apparently. Apparently we all need to chill out a bit. But you'll also have knowledge from doing this. So I think it's great, and I hope this helps. Please feel free to check out all the other resources that are on our course, Moodle, and definitely contact me by email if you have any questions. All right, thanks so much.